Have you ever wondered how much it costs to actually buy a home here in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island? I'm Rob Freeman, Realtor with Stonehouse Realty, and I'm going to break those costs down for you right now. Let's get into it. As of this filming, it's January 2026, so the average costs for homes here in Nanaimo are about $850,000 for a single-family home, about $445,000 for a condo, and about $565,000 for a townhouse. Now, legally, you can buy a home with as little as 5% down. So depending on which of those categories, you do the math. Just because you see a home listed at, let's say, $900,000 doesn't mean that's the cost of the home. There's lots of other fees and costs that you may not have known about. So I'm going to break some of those down for you today, just so you can budget ahead so you're not caught short or are surprised later on during the process. Most people don't like to buy a home with 5% down because the lower amount you put down, the higher your mortgage payment. So most people try to have at least 10% down. You may want to have as much as 20% down because then you don't need mortgage insurance. And that's a question we'll get into with your mortgage broker or your bank. So obviously that depends on your financial resources. Legally 5% minimum, up to 20%. And if you're really lucky, more than that down. The more money you can put down, the less your mortgage payment each month. The next piece of the puzzle is your deposit. So when I write your offer for you and it's accepted by the other side, you have to put a certain amount of money down. Whatever that is negotiable. Usually it's a minimum of probably $10,000. Depending on the price of the house, maybe as high as $50,000. It's not here on Vancouver Island usually as much as on the mainland. We don't go by 20% down or anything like that. So we'll talk about the amount, and that's negotiable during the offer. But if it works out that, let's say your home costs $900,000 and your deposit is $50,000, then your actual remaining mortgage will be the difference, $850,000, just as an example. Another cost you may face is bank appraisal. Now, sometimes this will be covered by your mortgage broker and the bank themselves. Sometimes it may be something you're responsible for. If you have to pay it, it's usually around $700. So just be prepared to have that handy. Oh, by the way, just so you're not trying to do all the math really quickly here, I do have a super handy buyer's guide that I wrote. All these closing costs are broken down in here. So just comment down below guide, and I'm happy to send you a free PDF with all your closing costs and a lot more great info about the buying process. Most offers include inspection as a condition you'll have. I highly recommend getting one done. This is probably the most important and biggest financial purchase you'll ever make. Spending give or take $700 on an inspection makes perfect sense. There may be some other things you want inspected. Let's say it has a wood fireplace. You'll need it's called a wet inspection, W-E-T-T. That's another couple of hundred on top of the home inspection. But again, money well spent to make sure you can get your insurance. If your home has a septic field, you'll definitely want to spend the money on septic inspection, and that's done by a separate company than your regular home inspector usually. But there can be lots of stuff that goes wrong with septic, and that can be super expensive. I've dealt with clients who got one done, thankfully, and were facing up to about a $60,000 replacement cost. The system was shot. They would have to redo the whole septic field. So really good information to know before you get the keys to your home. If you'd like to know more about inspections, we actually shot this video with one of our go-to inspectors in Nanaimo. No matter who you choose for your inspector, can't advise enough. It's well worth a couple $100 for peace of mind on a multi-$100,000 investment you're making. We all love lawyers, right? You'll need one to get your deal to complete. Be prepared to budget somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500 for lawyer's fees. That includes a whole bunch of things related to your contract, the disbursement of fees, all kinds of stuff. We'll get into that more later, but around $2,000 is a pretty safe budget investment. One of the hidden costs of buying buying a home people don't usually know about is the good old property transfer tax, or PTT. Everybody who buys a home in BC pays this. Whether it's your first home, your 10th home, you still pay. It goes straight to the government. It has nothing to do with the buyer or the seller. So a lot of people haven't heard about this, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. You take the purchase price of the home, you will owe 1% of that on the first $200,000, 2% of the fair market value from $200,000 up to $2 million. And if your home happens to be more than $2 million here in Nanaimo, congratulations, you have a very nice home. Unfortunately, you owe another 3% on the value after that. You'll also need home insurance for your home. I highly recommend you get at least 3 quotes, and I can recommend some different people to talk to. I've seen home insurance quotes range widely or be very similar. It really all depends on the underwriter at whichever company is doing it. So call around, you can probably save yourself some money, but depending on the home you're insuring and the elements of that home, you could have quite a range in insurance. Some factors that may affect the amount of your insurance are simply the age of your home, the location of your home, what upgrades have been done to the home. You're not going to get insurance if the electrical doesn't meet code, as an example. So common one is having your plumbing or electrical or roofing redone just to meet current code and make sure everything works. Another cost everyone loves is GST. The good news is, unless you're buying a brand new home or a home that somehow was used for a business but maybe not declared as a business, you won't be paying GST. It's usually only on new construction. 95% of the time that's the big one, and then a few other examples. So we'll cover that when it comes time to rate your offer and make sure the language to hopefully protect you as the buyer and make sure you don't have to pay GST. As always, I suggest getting independent legal advice if there's any doubt. If all these costs are sounding a little confusing and like it's too much information, by all means, feel free to book a call with me below. My Calendly link's right there. Sometimes it's easier to go through things in person. Happy to do a deep dive and get into it as much as you want. And then the last question, how much does it cost for you to work with me on the buyer's side as a realtor? The answer, a big fat zero. The commission is paid from the selling side. Without getting too much into it, it costs you nothing, with one very, very specific example. I won't even get into it here, but it has to deal with when homes are for sale by owner and those owners are offering a very small commission. You may be on the hook for the remainder of that, and I'll always have that conversation with you even before we go to look at that home, so there's no surprises. So the exciting news is you're ready to buy a home. Now, we want to make sure there's no surprises. So just because you see the cost of the home, I hope this video has shown you there may be some other costs you should plan ahead for if you can and budget that. So when at the end of the line, you're not like, oh no, I didn't know all these other things have added up. Now it's my job as a realtor to hopefully save you some money off the purchase price. So if I can get that down, all that other money would still come under the $900,000 or whatever the home was initially listed at. Hopefully. Everyone's in the home buying process at a different time. Whether you're 9 days out, 90 days out, I'm happy to help whenever that is to find you your dream home. Give me a call today, send me a text, email, whatever works for you. By all means, drop guide in the comments again. I've been Rob Freeman with Stonehouse Realty, looking forward to finding you your dream home. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you at the next video.